Welcome back, focused learners. Today we are looking at something completely paradigm shifting. We're taking a concept that's usually reserved for, fitness gurus and doctors, and we're examining it through the cold, hard lens of finance and economics. We are talking about the ultimate balance sheet. We're going to explore the idea that your biological health is, in fact, a highly measurable financial reality.
So let me hook you right out of the gate with this question. What is your absolute most valuable asset? Seriously, if you had to name it right now, what jumps to mind? For most of us, it's something tangible, right? You might think of a vault full of gold bars, a massive portfolio of tech stocks, or maybe some prime real estate. But the true answer, the one that actually dictates the ceiling of your success, well, it isn't something you can store in a bank vault or a brokerage account.
According to a really insightful framework from Wealth Tender, your most valuable resource is actually an intangible asset. You can't sell it, and it won't appear on a traditional corporate balance sheet. But a priceless resource like your physical and mental well-being is exactly what drives your earning power. It drives your ability to get promotions, your stamina to work hard, and just your overall life satisfaction. So for the rest of this explainer, we're going to use this balance sheet metaphor to understand exactly how your biology is directly tied to your net worth.
Okay, let's dive into section 1, the ultimate intangible asset, your biological bank account. There's some fascinating recent research out of Aston University's Center for Personal Financial Well-Being, and it details this incredible relationship. Sickness and wealth are deeply, deeply interconnected. It's a two-way street. The study found that poor physical health creates a direct, massive strain on your financial resources. Think about the direct costs of medical care combined with the indirect costs of reduced earning potential. But it flows the other way too. Experiencing financial stress actually impacts your health directly by limiting health-supporting behaviors. If your wallet is strained, you're just way less likely to afford a high-quality diet, regular exercise, or necessary preventative health care. It basically becomes this vicious compounding cycle.
Moving right along to section 2, the high cost of sickness and the drain on your personal finances.
So the crucial point here really comes down to this number, 530,000. Every single year, roughly 530,000 Americans file for bankruptcy strictly due to debt accrued from a medical illness. Just pause and think about that for a second. That is over 500,000 people whose years of stress, hard work, and wealth building are completely wiped out overnight. And that includes many people who actually have health insurance. It's absolutely wild. When we put this side by side on our balance sheet, the contrast is incredibly stark. The cost of sickness means missed work, rapidly depleted savings, high interest debt just to cover basic outgoings, and way lower energy when you actually are on the clock. But look at the flip side, the dividends of health. Healthy people are statistically more likely to be hired and promoted simply because they have the energy to be proactive and productive. And mathematically speaking, if you live just one extra healthy decade, you extend your peak earning years and dramatically supercharge the time horizon for your investments to compound. We're literally talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in additional wealth just by staying healthy. I absolutely love this quote from the Wealth Tender analysis because it hits the nail on the head regarding this paradox. A famous 2010 Princeton study demonstrated that while making more money definitely improves your emotional well-being, up to about $75,000 a year anyway, pursuing wealth to the detriment of your health is a terrible, terrible trade-off. You fundamentally cannot enjoy the financial fruits of your labor if you're in constant pain, bedridden, or worse. It completely defeats the purpose.
Let's move to and see how this builds in section 3, the global economic burden from micro to macro.
A landmark report published by the World Economic Forum and the Harvard School of Public Health dropped a massive, shocking reveal: $47 trillion. They calculated that non-communicable diseases, we call them NCDs, along with mental health conditions, are going to cause a cumulative global economic output loss of $47 trillion over the next 2 decades. This is an absolutely staggering threat to global economic growth. To really put that massive number into perspective, $47 trillion represents 75% of the entire global GDP in the year 2010. Or, to frame it another way, which is just mind-blowing, this lost economic output is enough money to completely eradicate $2 a day poverty for 2.5 billion people for more than half a century. That is the true hidden cost of global illness.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what's driving this loss. Notice the massive slice dominating global mortality. Cardiovascular disease represents nearly 30% of all deaths. Following right behind that, we have cancers at 13% and chronic respiratory diseases like COPD and asthma at 7%. And while diabetes has a lower direct mortality rate, it is a massive driver of disability and a huge risk factor for heart and kidney disease down the line.
When you roll all of these together,
Non-communicable diseases now cause 63% of all deaths worldwide. And here is why this is such an economic catastrophe. About 1/4 of all these NCD deaths occur in people below the age of 60. This means it is heavily impacting people right in the prime of their most productive earning years. It's essentially ripping massive amounts of talent and productivity straight out of the global workforce.
And unfortunately, the math tells us this is only going to accelerate. As you can see from the trajectory here, as the world's population grows, the share of people aged 60 and older is rising rapidly. Because these chronic diseases disproportionately affect older populations, this demographic shift acts as a massive compounder for this global economic burden.
Which leads us nicely into Section 4, the best long-term investment, managing your biological portfolio.
So, what do we actually do about this? We need to completely reframe our daily health choices and start viewing them as critical long-term financial investment strategies. And look, to protect any portfolio, you have to eliminate toxic assets. In the health world, the World Health Organization calls these modifiable risk factors. The globalization of unhealthy lifestyles has fueled a literal globesity epidemic. We're talking about poor diets heavily reliant on cheap processed foods loaded with sugar and salt. We're talking about the physical inactivity of our modern sedentary lifestyles. Get this, tobacco use alone accounts for 3.4 million deaths today. Add in harmful alcohol use, which heavily increases the risks of both cancer and cardiovascular diseases, and you've got the primary toxic assets dragging down our global balance sheet.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the solution. The World Health Organization has actually identified a set of population-level interventions they call best buys to reduce these risk factors. And get this, implementing these strategies in developing nations would cost less than 40 cents per person per year. Less than 40 cents. By targeting youth behavior early and developing cost-effective models of care that don't place the entire burden on untrained family members, we can mathematically rebalance the global portfolio and literally save trillions. Which brings us right back to you, the individual investor in your own life. How are you managing the most important asset on your balance sheet? Because every single meal you eat, every hour of sleep you get, every walk you take, these aren't just lifestyle choices. They are micro deposits into an account that pays the ultimate compound interest. True wealth preservation doesn't begin on Wall Street. It begins right here with your own biology. So I'll leave you with that provocative thought. Start investing wisely, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.